You're listening to Digital Now, an original business and technology podcast by Logic20. I'm your host, Matt Treville. Each episode, I'll be interviewing a new expert to learn more about industry trends, fascinating new tech, shifting customer expectations, and the steps every business can take to stay ahead. Hi everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm here with a very special guest today, Christian O'Mara, who is our founder and CEO of Logic20 back in 2015. Fun facts for those of you playing at home. Christian is a very active member in the community, coaching soccer for many years, starting his own youth rugby club in West Seattle, and of course, the many charitable efforts you've done over the years. So thank you for your time today, Christian.
Oh, thanks for having me on. One quick note is I'm not that special. But I do appreciate being here.
Yeah, that's very fair. Okay, so today's topic is a really cool one in my opinion. It's something that I think is very important, at this current time and in any time really, right? But it's really emphasized at the moment. It's about culture and company culture and all those sorts of things, and something I really care about. So should we get straight into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so why is creating an amazing culture at Logic20 so important to you?
Well, I think it's fair to say that actually culture in any organization is very important. I have always valued the experience you have at work. You spend so many hours working, making sure that you enjoy that experience, which translates into culture, is probably one of the most important things for me. Having fun. I think having fun is, I like to work really hard. I like to work with people that work hard. Having fun, enjoying that time, and finding out what fun means to a wider team is very important, and investing in that desire for different people and their different ideas, I think, is extremely important.
So, we're still in a pandemic it's been a very rough time, so what are some of the growing pains that Logic20 went through during this time, culturally?
So many, gosh. I think it's always something that you're used to, which how do you continue to maintain culture, grow culture in an organization that grows so fast? Mm-hmm. We've grown 26% year over year for 5 years. How do you maintain value of culture? How do you keep people having fun? How do you keep them interested? Absolutely, this last 15 to 18 months, I guess, has presented some significant challenges, and there's no manual to look at and say, this is how to do it. Mm-hmm. No one's done this before. What we do have is a leadership team that knows how important culture is to our business, right? So it's interesting. I was talking to some of our consulting leaders over the last few days, and I said, knowing that this was going to be one of the questions, tell me some of the things that we're doing across the organization. First of all, it's important to recognize that this is a hard time, right? And everyone knows that. Yeah. So some of the leaders spend 15, 20 minutes chatting with the individuals on their Zoom and their Teams to find out how life is going. Yeah. Like simple things. Right? Taking the space, stopping for long enough. Mm-hmm. Zoom fatigue. Gosh, we've always had a culture that relied so much on being in person, and then how do you get past Zoom fatigue? One of the interesting things that one of our leaders is doing is using avatar meetings. So they literally set up an avatar for everyone in the meeting, and as they move closer to the table that they're actually allocated to, they can hear the conversation. They move further away, they can join a different conversation. I think that was inspired from the New York Times. But it's the things like that I think really help. Mm-hmm. Taking the time to train and be rigorous in our approach to delivery means that it takes some stress away, right? Taking the time to not sit at your desk, really trying to put in a discipline to say meetings don't start bang on the hour. I think most people have understood that at this stage over the last, certainly over the last 12 months, after we all experienced that. What's it like to sit at your desk 12 hours a day? Like, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are many growing pains, and as we also, as a digital first company, switch to how do we maintain connection, in-person connection? How do you do that now as we've redistributed how we operate as an organization? Instead of just having one or two headquarters, we now have hubs. And what's the appropriate amount of time for you to be in person and for you to be digital? And so, yes, we are still learning that. I think we do a really, really good job, and we have employees now in 20 states. So I think we're managing it very well. And our CSAT says we're managing it very well as well. So yeah.
Nice. Well, so that was obviously some of the challenges. What about some of the successes? I know you touched on some of them, but can you give us more of an idea in sort of this hybrid environment that we're in at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I think I did touch on customer success is customer satisfaction is very important. But we run regular surveys among smaller teams and find out how they're feeling and monitoring. Trying to keep an eye, like an understanding of what we're doing as an organization that's working and not working. And so I would say we really tune those up on a monthly basis. We run experiments of how many people can we get to come into a hub, and then we amp that up. Should there be an expectation? Should there not? Currently, there's no expectation of how often somebody should be in a hub, and we'll evolve that forward and against as time goes by. But again, as a digital first company, it's really the focus on how do you maintain that connection without being in person.
Yeah.
And there are, of course, people that yearn to be in person. They yearn to be back in the office. And how do you, right? And they thrive off that energy. So how do you strike that right balance? And I think right now, today, it's very optional, very, very optional whether you come in on or not. And actually, we get more people that are happy to be remote than want to come in person. How that evolves, we'll keep listening.
Yeah.
We'll keep our ears open, because we want to adapt to our workforce and what they want and need, as well as what the business wants and needs. So I think that's very important as we grow.
Yeah, I think, and you have to be, right, because you just don't know. So you have to adapt. You have to keep rolling, keep changing.
Like I said earlier, there's no manual.
Exactly.
We keep listening, keep paying attention, keep evolving.
Yeah.
Right. And with the focus on how do we have the most amount of satisfaction amongst our employees. We've said for a long time, it's been one of our mission statements that we say we want to be one of the best companies to work for.
Yeah.
And secondly, we want to be one of the best companies to do business with. And we're very intentional about putting our people before our clients. Yeah. Our clients are very, very important, don't get me wrong. But we believe that if you've got happy employees, that you're going to have a great customer experience as well. And that has borne out over the last 8 years that we've actively been monitoring that.
Yeah. Well, let's flip it up a little bit here, okay? Because we both come from a similar background, right? Playing rugby and sports our entire life. How has that influenced your leadership style coming into the business world?
Gosh, how has that influenced it? So, I mean, it's less about how it's influenced it. It's how is it not?
Yeah, that's right? A good point. Yeah.
In the way we work, everything that we do, whether we're in doing delivery, whether we're doing operations, whether we're doing sales, everything, the way our company is structured is about teams. It's about helping each other. Our mantra is one team, right? So we win together. And I think that's always been very important as an athlete, as a coach, and that just translates and transcends through our organization. Everything is about how you can help your peer, help your colleague, both from both up the chain and down the chain and also across.
Yeah.
Right. That's always been very important to us.
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell that comes from the heart because it's reflected in how you view, how we operate. So
yeah.
I appreciate that as an employee.
I would actually say, in addition, right? As I've mentioned, I coach kids. Kids will keep you humble, really humble, right? And so you don't lose track of just how human you are. And I think being in touch with your humility is very, very important across any organization. It's very important to know who you are and just how fallible you can be. You need to be able to look at what you're doing right, but you also need to be able to look at opportunities where you can learn and where you can help more. And again, as we grow so fast, it's an exciting time to be in the organization, but you have to pay attention.
Of course.
So I think that comes from sports, or it's easily relatable to anybody that comes from sports.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue to my final question here. So leaders watching this, listening to this, there are other people other than my mum who listens to this.
Yeah, my mum.
Yeah, there you go, there's the two. So if anyone else is listening and they're in a leadership position, or even if they want to be a leader, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Gosh, I think, again, we're all going through a tough time. It's what we have experienced the most is connection, right? Digital connection. In the 12 months that we couldn't be, we couldn't actually see each other. Yeah. Taking that time to be human. It's not all about work. It's a good deal about work. It's a good deal about making sure we know and understand and feel the human opposite, opposite us on the screen or opposite us in person. Yeah. Very, very important.
People first. I love it.
People first. It's all about the connection.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have today. I appreciate your insights, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
You've been listening to Logic 2020's podcast, Digital Now. To learn more, visit our website at logic2020.com or follow us on social media. See you next time.